T-1. T-1 day till training camp begins. I'm curious, is there anything that the Philadelphia Phillies can do between now and, say, the start of the regular season for the Eagles to really capture your imagination? All we want to do is talk about the Eagles in the next season. The Phillies are pretty much in the same spot as they've been in last year as well. Yet, the excitement level just isn't there. I want to talk about that for a little bit. We got lots on the docket. It's an overreaction Monday right here on Trending in the AM. And we're going to start the show in 30 seconds. And a very good morning, everybody, and welcome to Trending in the AM right here on Philadelphia Sports Network. We are live, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, you know the drill, maybe YouTube or Twitter. Does it even exist, Twitter, anymore? We don't know. Whatever Mr. Elon is doing over there. If you're watching on Twitter, you better hover over to the Philadelphia Sports Network, YouTube or Facebook page, because, man, if you're watching on that Twitter thing, A, you can't interact, and B, we don't ever know when it's going to go away. Or the name's good. I might have to change what I say every morning, Facebook, YouTube, and X. I don't know, literally X. But make sure you're liking, subscribing, turning notifications on, retweeting, following, sharing, liking, telling a friend. Do it all to spread the word of the number one Philadelphia morning show, the first daily YouTube show in Philadelphia. It's the only show in Philadelphia talking sports anywhere, the dial or on the internet, where your opinions actually matter. We got lots to talk about today, as always. Good morning to everybody checking in, and I got to get right to this right away before I even finish my intro. Happy Kelly Green Monday. My God, are you trying to troll me this morning? Like, I hate the Kelly Green. I find the Kelly Green so overrated, as I already set up as one of my intros for today. Is it too late for the Phillies to steal any of the hearts of Philadelphia sports fans the rest of this summer? And I got lots to get into with this. It's pretty similar this season so far to last, but the Eagles season hadn't started yet last year, like now. But the Eagles didn't have that Super Bowl run in them. Now we're following up a Super Bowl run, and it feels like this this similar Phillies run isn't being cared for as much as last year's. And I don't know if the Phillies can, even during training camp. And I put out this tweet last night promoting the show, and somebody said to me the complete opposite, that where's the tweet here? I gotta find it. There's too many tweets, even on a slow tweet day like yesterday for me. I can't even find it, but basically saying that it's just practice. Don't worry about practice. Worry about the Phillies. And I just don't say it. Does anybody care that James Harden wasn't at Joel Embiid's wedding? Congratulations to the process. Finally completed. I can make cheesy jokes like everybody else. He finally got a ring. But I'm not. I'm not going to dive into the fact that James Harden wasn't at his wedding too much, but I'm putting it on the table for you. If he's going to show up to camp as he's threatening to do, him not showing up when other players, George Niang, who signed with Cleveland, J.J. Redick, his former teammate, plenty of players, Tobias Harris, who's on the trading block and could get traded, was there. Lots of guys were there. No James Harden. Do we care? I don't, but I know it could be an issue. But anyway, we're going to get started right here today. It is the day before training camp. Tomorrow is the first day of training camp. I cannot wait for football season to get started. It's an exciting time of the year. You know, lots happening. But the Phillies are right there. They're a half a game out of the wild card place spot. The last wild card spot. They are similar, if not further ahead than they were last year at this point. Yet they can't get any momentum in the Philadelphia sports talk because we are also focused on Eagles training camp because of the Super Bowl run last year that we went on. I think if the Eagles did not have that Super Bowl run in them last year, the story and the conversation would still be Eagles, but there would still be room not just here on this show, but in general in Philadelphia sports, to talk about the Phillies. I truly believe that there's almost nothing that the Phillies can do to really dominate, even partially dominate the conversation. They went on a World Series run last year, I know, but they're the same inconsistent team this year as they were last year. They're the same team with stars underperforming, pitching issues, questionable managing decisions, doing things not to really connect with the fan base. And, they ended a 4-game losing streak on Sunday. It is what it is. But to you, the fans, is there anything the Phillies can do to get your excitement focused on them and off of the Eagles start to camp? And it's just practice. As the one person on Twitter said to me, it is just practice. It's not even full-blown practice. Like, it's literally no pads on practice for most of the time, almost no tackling, only 3 preseason games. These joint practices, which I love. I can't wait till the first joint practice this year. I love those. Is there anything they can do that will kind of excite you, that'll make you turn the Phillies game on instead of turning your phone on to read another article about Jalen Hurts' passing chart in a training camp practice? The reporters do that. They track every pass, every completion, every interception, every touchdown, every throw of camp. They do that. Bigger sites actually send reporters just to track Jalen Hurts' passes. We'll dissect those training camp reports more than the Phillies games over the next couple of weeks. Is there a reason why that's the case? Is there something that the Phillies could do? Like, if the Phillies go on they got Pittsburgh and Baltimore this week, actually Baltimore and then Pittsburgh this week. Even if they win 4 out of the 6 games, that won't excite us. It'll keep us in the playoff hunt. It'll keep the diehard Philly fans watching the games, but it won't excite us. They go on a 6 or 7 game winning streak. I don't think that does it. Now, maybe if they go out and make a bold trade and bring in Ohtani or something like that, wow, that shock value might turn the attention to the Phillies. And then when that happens, maybe, if they win games immediately off of that shock value, maybe they can start capturing the hearts. But I'm worried about this Phillies team because of the Eagles' Super Bowl run and the hype surrounding this season, that even the month of September, the end of September, when we're going to be battling for that last wild card spot, won't have the same luster. Yeah, if we make the playoffs, and we probably will make the playoffs, I'm sure Red October will be fun and the bank will be sold out, etc. And while we've been averaging a great attendance, we haven't really sold out a lot of games overall. Like, outside of Friday night and Saturday night games or special occasions, we're not selling out games because it doesn't seem like Phillies fans are truly on board with this team. Like, they're just like, yeah, sure, we'll wait to get excited about the Phillies till they're in the World Series. I kind of feel like that. Like, they don't want to trust, like, the fans of Philadelphia would rather focus in on training camp and put their trust in the Eagles than the Philadelphia Phillies. And also, to throw the other teams into the equation, the heartbreak and the lack of confidence in the Sixers, or the fact that we put all our heart and soul into the Sixers and they came up small again, might be part of, nobody wants to put their trust in the Phillies or the Sixers anymore because they don't want to have their heart broken again. And the Eagles are different. The Eagles didn't win a title. They lost in the Super Bowl. But the Eagles will always be one of the number one team. And that's, they'll never lose faith in the Eagles. But the lack of faith that they have in the Phillies and Sixers is kind of disheartening. Do you think Harper going to be the everyday first baseman? Yeah, I mean, we could talk on that for sure, Adam. Bryce Harper's first day was Friday at first base. Obviously, he made multiple. He looked like he's been playing first base for 20 years. He looks like he's been playing first base since he was in Little League, diving catches, jumping into the dugout to make call. Dude, first and foremost, if you weren't scared when he took one of those 2 tumbles, I don't know what to tell you. I was scared. And then he didn't play game two, the second game of the series at first. He DH'd, and he played the third game. Adam, I will go one further. Do I think he looked good, and will he be the everyday first baseman? I think there's a chance that if he plays well enough at first base, that he's the first baseman of the future of this team. That they just might let him ride it out at first base forever. I mean, it'll protect him a little bit more throughout his career, for sure. So, I mean, you're going to need a first baseman next year. Rhys Hoskins will be a free agent. So, I think it's very possible. Not only that he plays first base every day as he gets eased into it this year, but that by next year, that he's still our first baseman. Nick Castellanos is a solid right fielder. You get an extra left fielder, or you got Rojas and Marsh in your outfield if you find something to do with Kyle Schwarber as the DH. Maybe you don't need, right? Because I know I've heard rumors that Rob Thompson hasn't ruled out him going back to right field this year. Well, I don't know if you need to. What is up, my man, Drew? How you doing this morning? Look, Drew and Eric checking in bright and early this morning, not being late to the show. Make sure we're liking the video. Dude, Friday show, guys, almost 220 views, 25 likes on the YouTube video. Not damn bad, guys. One of the better viewed shows that we've ever had, and it was a fun show. And we could talk Phillies all we want on this show today. We could talk this theory that I don't think the Phillies can do anything outside of a shock value trade for Say and Ohtani. Even a Paul Goldschmidt trade, which doesn't make sense with Bryce Harper playing first now. That's not a shock value trade. Outside of a shock value trade, the Phillies will continue to struggle, winning or losing, getting any of the headlines or the conversation talk. Why? Because the Eagles. It's not even like the Sixers are doing anything to steal. The Sixers aren't even stealing 1% of the headlines. It's the Eagles. Look, people would rather talk about Kelly Green and the jersey drop. Is it coming today? There's a rumor it's coming today, the jersey drop. And I don't give a crap about Kelly Green. I've said it before. I say it again. Kelly Green represents the late 80s, early 90s to me. It represents the Norman Brayman, Buddy Ryan era. It represents losing in the playoffs. It represents coming up small multiple times. It represents a lot of negative feeling in my mind. Also, I just don't like the color Kelly Green. I think the midnight green is 10 times better than Kelly Green. And you see all these teams bringing back retro jerseys, but you also see a lot of teams coming up with new modern designs. I'd much rather that. You look at the Sixers coming up with their city editions every year. Some of them hit, some of them don't. I'd rather the Eagles come up with a new jersey. Like, who remembers, was it last year or 2 years ago, that the Bengals came out with the all white and black trim with the no orange in it jerseys? They were tight. I considered buying a Joe Burrow jersey. I just don't want to be called fugazi for having a Joe Burrow jersey as a Jalen Hurts fan. Like, do that instead. Eric, I know you're happy for the Kelly Green jersey drop, but I'm not. Like, I have no physical attachment. I will not go out and buy a Kelly Green shirt, jersey, T-shirt. I was at like Ross or I took the wife shopping over the weekend. We were at one of those stores and I was going through and I saw some Eagles gear and I looked and it was an Eagles jersey. It was a black jersey with the old Eagle logo. The old Eagle logo is cool, but again, it represents a very disappointing part of Eagles history. Why do we want to relive that? Like, I put that out on Twitter, and I couldn't believe how many people were actually on my side on this. Hold on, let me find this. I put out there, I will continue to be the only Eagles fan that's not for Kelly Green. I had a dozen comments of people saying, who needs it? 1,000. This person says Kelly Green is 1,000% better color. No, Stu, no gots. I don't care for it. Joel, I'm with you 100%. Joe Quillen, I hate the Kelly Green uniforms as well. Chris Costello, he loves it. It brings up such a controversial topic, amongst Eagles fans. It's kind of hilarious. Again, as I'm on Twitter there looking, there's 5-6 people watching on Twitter right now. If you want to get interactive, you got to head over to the Philadelphia Sports Network YouTube page or Facebook page. It's really easy. Just go to YouTube, type in Trending the AM in the search bar, or Philadelphia Sports Network in the search bar. It'll bring us to the YouTube page, and then you can actually have your comments put on this, and if you do that, put in the comments, hey, I was watching on Twitter, I heard you say that, and came on over. The team is going to make those colors great, bro. So you got to bring back an old color to make it great. What, are you erasing the bad history with it? Like, it's fine, but I don't like it. I'd rather something new. Even if it busts, even if it turns out to be a complete and total bust, like some of the Sixers City Edition jerseys, obviously the Spectrum one. I got a Harden Spectrum one back there. They were tight. I love the Spectrum jersey. If you want to bring something back, like make a new jersey and dedicate it to, I don't even know what. Like I was thinking the vet, but the vet was losing. Was it a losing time? I don't know. The ones that they had Boathouse Row on it for the Sixers, they were kind of cool. The ones this year for the Sixers with the fill, the way the cursive handwriting, they weren't as tight. But at least they tried different things. If you want to make a money grab for new jerseys, grab something new. Like college teams. Like Oregon's got 15 jerseys. The University of Oregon only plays like 12 games a year, and they got 15 different alternate jerseys. Get creative with it. Why revisit the past when you can come up with something new? Something cool, something exciting, something fresh. Like, I was thinking about it. Like, do a white jersey with, like, the Kelly green color, just like on a few stripes and a black. I want the all black helmet with just the white lining in it. Like, I want something different. Don't bring me Kelly green. Dude, take it this way. When do we start Midnight Green? Beginning of the Howie Roseman. No, the beginning of the Jeffrey Lurie era. What was that, like 94? Most of these Philadelphia Eagles weren't born when Kelly Green was around. That's how old it is. Like, I'd rather them bring out the blue and yellow, terrible Yellow Jacket uniform. Yeah, I know it's called the Yellow Jackets. And if you don't, you got to Google search the history of the Eagles and Philadelphia football. But Kelly Green just bores me. But people want to talk more about this. We've had more interaction and more talk now in the first 18 minutes of the show over the Kelly Green than the Philadelphia Phillies. And it scares me that the Phillies are going to drop out of the limelight of this city so quickly just because football season's here. They're a team that just went to the World Series, yet nobody wants to talk about them. And I'm not asking you guys to talk about them. What I'm asking is, what do they have to do to bring your excitement back, that you at least might watch a few games down the stretch? All black with Kelly green polka dots all over. I don't like the black on black shirt and pants. I don't like the white on white pants. The green on green is awful. I think you need contrast between the jersey and the pants. But I like black. Like, when they do the black alternates, man, I'm all about them. Actually, yeah, my Dallas Goedert is a black jersey right there. I love it. Love the black. Maybe you could do the black with just the Kelly green trim. But I don't want the official Kelly green jerseys completely, back. I just give me a little hint of the Kelly green in a modern looking jersey. Don't just bring back the retro and the old Eagle. I mean, again, the new Eagle is better. We won a Super Bowl with the new Eagle. We've been to 3 Super Bowls with the new Eagle. What did we do with the old Kelly green? Nada. It just doesn't resonate to me. It doesn't excite me. It doesn't do anything for me. It really doesn't. Yeah, just a hint. Just give it a little splash. I'm all for the all black, like black jerseys. Like, I love them. I think black looks good. You just need like gray or white or green pants to go with it. You can't have black on black like that. I just think it's too much. And it just looks weird, in my opinion, on the field, especially the green on green. All black with Kelly green polka dots is still like, I think it's hilarious. I'm just thinking of the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, with his polka dot pants, when he was wrestling back in the 70s and 80s. That's what I'm thinking of with the Kelly green. And, yeah, that would be hilarious. But it's kind of funny that the Kelly green conversation is more exciting to the fan base than the Phillies. And again, I do think the Sixers hurting us and breaking our trust in the organization is actually hurting the Phillies too. Because we just have no trust and faith in these teams. And while we don't have, the best results with the Eagles overall, for some reason we have that faith in the Eagles. This will always be a football team. I was talking to my brother, who y'all found super famous last week when he was on, he was in the comments of the show, and we went out, me and my wife and him and his wife went out to dinner yesterday, and his head was bigger than it kept teetering over because the weight of the ego just kept knocking him over. But he was, I was talking to him about, how football sells. Like, it doesn't matter what's going on. You play the greatest hits, and that's what draws in the views. So talking Eagles brings in the views because the fans of Philadelphia, the sports fans of Philadelphia, have been heartbroken so many times over the Phillies and Sixers. They just don't care. And even though they've been heartbroken on the Eagles, it's football, so they care more about that. And Sapphire. So is there something, though, that is it really going to take the Phillies winning a World Series to even, or getting back to the World Series to even excite the fan base? Like, I have a feeling when the playoffs come, in October, and we're in week 5 of the NFL season, and they're playing in a divisional round playoff series, we're still going to be talking just as much football as we do baseball, if not more. Now, if they make the World Series, I have a feeling that all of a sudden the conversation will change. But I think it's going to take that, or that shock value trade. If Phil is Loki, his brother, no, man, you're really trying to stir the pot this morning, man. But anyway, football dominates the conversation. And I don't think there's much that the Eagles can do that'll knock them off their perch. Hell, like even something as simple as the James Harden, Joel Embiid wedding situation this weekend. Like, the James Harden drama has grown nauseating to talk about. It's boring. It's lifeless. But you would think that something like Joel Embiid, one of the greatest athletes in Philadelphia at this moment, maybe of all time, gets married. Teammates past and present there for the wedding. But the one teammate that is threatening to show up to camp, even though he wants traded. He wants traded. He said it. He wants out. But I'm going to show up if you don't trade me, basically saying I'm going to be a distraction. Doesn't go to his buddy's wedding. Now, there could be reasons. Maybe he had other plans. But I think, most weddings, invitations go out far enough in advance that, if your buddies, you're gonna cancel whatever other things you've got hanging out, with whoever to go to your buddy's wedding. That could be a big issue. That could show that there's going to be a bigger rift if he shows up into camp, because he's not all in with this team. He's not all in. But yet, something like that in years past would have blown up on social media. Like, literally, no lie. 2 years ago, if Joel Embiid got married and Ben Simmons did not show up to his wedding, oh my God. The noise that would have been all over Twitter would have been insane. There were like 4 or 5 jokes about it, and most of them were around Embiid finally got a ring. Like, all the pictures are circulating with J.J. Redick and Tobias Harris and even George Niang and whatnot. Nobody commented. Like, the first thing I did, I saw the picture. I'm like, I wonder if James Harden was there. But nobody was talking about it. Like, I couldn't even find out if he was there at first. Even Ben Simmons was the best man. Look, I saw something funny a week or so ago that I forgot about, and it kind of made me think of Ben Simmons a little bit, and we never brought it up on the show. Do you guys remember when Ben Simmons choked out Karl Anthony Towns when he came to the support of Joel Embiid and put the chokehold, and you see Cat tap out? Like, I forgot about that, and it made me think about how Ben Simmons was, it is what it is. But there was a point where Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid tried to make it work, where they tried to be on the same page. And even Ben Simmons had Joel's back for a little while there. And you wouldn't see James Harden do that. James Harden would not be trying to put a chokehold on anybody. Yeah, it's a funny joke. Ha ha ha. Shout out to my man Eric, John from PSN. He got engaged over the weekend. But, like this, do you understand, Eric, that this whole wedding thing in years past would have been a big deal? But now it's like fourth page news. Why? Because everybody has moved on and checked out of Sixers drama over Phillies poor play, over everything. All eyes are on one thing, and that's the NFL and the Eagles. And it's not like our Sixers and Phillies have losing seasons. The Sixers have been to the second round playoffs 5 of the last 6 years. The Phillies just went to the World Series, and nobody cares. Why? Because they're just over it all. UFC Ben was great. Like I was surprised Ben had that in him. I still remember that, man. That was hilarious. That was great. Harden would put a chokehold on a bouncer, or he'd slap a bouncer, or he'd slap somebody else for taking his spot at the strip club or something. But seriously, like nobody seems to care. Excuse me. But that all being said, yeah, the Phillies broke their losing streak yesterday. But again, does anybody care? Like, I could come on this show and complain and moan and groan about Rob Thompson's managing style and lineup construction or bullpen usage. Nobody cares. But if I say, what is Nolan Smith's ceiling in his rookie year? Bet you that draws a conversation. If I say I think Nolan Smith is going to be the steal of the 2022 NFL draft or 2023 NFL draft, that will create a conversation. But if I say I'm glad Craig Kimbrell blew his save on Sunday and we still won because it gets you're going to blow a save eventually. Nobody goes perfect like Brad Lidge in 208. Nobody wants to talk about that. And I don't care about talking about the teams themselves. I want to know why nobody wants to talk about these said teams. And on a side note, I said it last week at the end of the week that I had plenty of time that I wanted to talk about Nolan Smith this week or this offseason. We have spent so little time mentioning Nolan Smith's name in the conversation over the course of the entire summer since he was drafted. And I think Nolan Smith is an interesting character to look at because of the fact that he's basically behind Hassan Reddick on the depth chart. 30th pick of the draft, had top 10 potential to go in. Hell, there were Eagles mock drafters that were telling the Eagles to pick Nolan Smith in the top 10. Like, Nolan Smith is a top 10 talent. But yet there's a chance he hardly sees the field early in the season. You think about it, our edge rushers / people that get after the quarterback, it's deep. You got Josh Sweat, you got Brandon Graham, you got the defensive tackles, you got Hassan Reddick, you got Derek Barnett. You got a lot of guys that get after the quarterback. And I know a rotation is the way to go, but Hassan Reddick plays a lot of snaps, plays like 70% of the snaps. Nakobe Dean's going to get after the quarterback at time. He was known to get after the quarterback or in the backfield in college. Where does Nolan Smith fit in? If he's technically behind Hassan Reddick, and Reddick plays 70% of the snaps, Nolan Smith's only got 30%, and that's if he plays 30% and not counting dime situations or fourth down situations where it's all, big guns up front to stop a short third down run. If Nolan Smith only gets on the field 20% of the time to start the season, it doesn't mean that it was a bust of a pick. It doesn't mean that he's not good. It just means we were very deep at a position and we drafted a player more like a luxury. It was like a luxury pick taking him at 30. You were thinking of Brandon Graham retiring in another year or so. You were thinking about Hassan Reddick going into the second year of a 5-year deal, which is really a 3-year deal with the outs that are in the contract. You were thinking of the future when you're drafting Nolan Smith. But Nolan Smith is so talented then he might play his way onto the field. It's one of the people I'm going to be looking at in camp. Like, I know the theory that Eagles rookie defensive players don't really see the field much. Actually, rookie defensive players across the board don't see the field much. Unless you're an elite number 1, 2 overall pick that's an edge rusher extreme. Like, I think Jalen Carter will see the field a decent amount this year. More than Jordan Davis did last year. But that's because of A, the loss of Hargrave, and B, because how elite special this guy's talent is. And Nolan Smith is there. There's just not as many holes to get him on the field. If they put Smith and Hassan on the field at the same time. Right, but if they put Smith and Hassan on the field at the same time, who are you taking off? Are you taking Sweat and Brandon Graham off the field at the same time as well? Because if you put those two on the field, you're looking at those two, Fletcher Cox and Jalen Carter. Maybe Milton Williams as well. Like, there's only so many spots on the field. You're going to have your 5 defensive backs on the field almost all the time. You're going to have Nakobe Dean on the field almost all the time. So that's 6 spots. You got 5 left. You put both them on the field, then you've only got 3. And Nolan Smith and Hassan Reddick, I mean, they can stop the run, but what are their specialties? Getting after the quarterback. And if it turns into be a rushing play, your run defense will struggle to an extent. So it'll be really curious to see. It is time for camp. And man, Chatter, I don't know if you've been listening to the top of the day, what the Phillies could do to overtake the Eagles conversation. But, like, is there something in that would overtake? Is there something in Buffalo? You only got 2 teams. You got them and the Buffalo Sabres. You don't have anything else up there to really dominate, and the Sabres stink. Like, I don't know. You actually got to work for a change. Your boss found out you spend most of the time talking on a show instead of actually doing some work in the morning. I love it. I'll write you a note. I'll say, Mad Chatter missed today's work for the first hour because he was busy. I'm the doctor. I saw him, to see he had a cough or something like that. Yeah, the World Series would do it, but that's a shame. It really is. It really is. That's what it would take. Back to Nolan Smith here. Because camp starts tomorrow, and I got an interesting topic for tomorrow to kickstart training camp and kickstart the feelings of how we're going to get through this. But is there a scenario where Nolan Smith, like, I'm trying to think. I was on the edge of Philadelphia's over-under special again this year, and I think Nolan Smith's over-under sack total was a question. I think it was set at 3.5 or 4.5 sacks is the over-under. And I picked the over, but it was like barely. I forget what it was. 3.5, I think, is what it was. And I said over barely, but mainly because, like, 3.5 sacks is nothing. But then I got to thinking, dude, you know how many times I've been called this? It's like the most cheesy joke in the world. It really is. I got to thinking, like, how's he even going to get on the field enough to get the momentum to get after the quarterback that many times? Like, realistically speaking, can he even get on the field enough to get 4 sacks this year? And I don't know if he can. This defensive front, and I call it a defensive front, and that's the edge, the ends, the tackles, and the linebackers. It's so deep and talented outside a middle linebacker that where does he fit? Where's his place on this team? And again, rookies do struggle to get on the field in Philadelphia, especially on defense. Now, as an edge rusher, there's not a lot to learn. You got to pick up the speed of the NFL. And, I mean, if you're a blitzer, how many plays are there really? It's just put your hand down on the ground and go at it. You got to run a stunt or you're straight, whatever. Occasionally, you got to drop back into coverage. You learn a little bit. It's not like learning quarterback or wide receiver route running or picking up blocking schemes as a running back. Defensive end, edge rusher, it's got to be a pretty easy position to pick up pretty quickly. But yet, I just don't know if he's got a place for him. Where does he fit in? And I'll be curious. I really, really be curious during camp. And he's going to get run with the ones in camp. And don't let that make you falsely believe that he's going to have this huge impact. Because Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, Hassan Reddick, even to an extent, these veterans and the way Nick Sirianni runs camp, protecting these guys, a lot of veteran days off. I mean, we were super healthy last year. I questioned last year before the season started on this show, previous network, was Nick Sirianni's laid-back coaching style in camp going to affect this team? Week 1, what did we win? 38-35 against Detroit, 35-32 against Detroit, whatever it was. It was a shootout. The defense struggled a little bit, but the offense was clicking. We were able to put up the points and outscore our opponent. But over the course of the year, his laid-back style in camp proved to be effective because we had healthy guys. I mean, when was the last time you saw a team play in the Super Bowl with no major injuries? Outside Lane Johnson, but Lane Johnson played through a torn freaking groin because he's that great. Beat those Cowboys on their high horse. I always want to beat those Cowboys. Although Mark always brings up the great conversational point whenever I have him on the show or he's in the comments that the Giants rivalry is bigger than the Cowboys rivalry. And I always think that that's a weird thing that he says. But then I think about it, I kind of do hate the Giants a little bit more because they're 2 hours north of us versus a 5.5-hour plane ride away from us. I don't know. It's always interesting to me to think about that. Who's the bigger rival? And Washington, I don't even consider them a rival at this point because they stink. And I'm more concerned about their owner than the team. Nick should overplay the rookies in camp, get them up to speed. Absolutely. And he will. I'm just saying, like, if Nolan Smith gets all these first-team reps in the joint practice in the preseason games, it doesn't mean anything because he's protecting Brandon Graham. He's protecting Hassan Reddick. He's protecting Fletcher Cox and these guys. You get these rookies up to speed, and you trust that the veterans will be there and ready to go by week 1 or 2. Hell, it's not like we're facing a juggernaut offense in week 1 in New England. Mac Jones, not an NFL quarterback. I think he's probably, if I did a top 32 quarterbacks in the NFL, Mac Jones would struggle to get into my top 25. I really, truly believe that. I would take the unknown of some of the rookies over Mac Jones at this point, honestly. Will some say that the Philadelphia fans are obnoxious as well? And yes, the Patriots do stink. They do. Without a shadow of a doubt, in my opinion, the Patriots are not a good football team. Their defense might be okay, but their offense stinks. But anyway, back to the Nolan Smith thing. Like, where you see him in the next 5 weeks does not dictate where he'll be week 1 or week 2. And the question is, if he somehow plays his way into the rotation, what does that mean? Does that mean Josh Sweat has a bad year or Brandon Graham gets hurt? Or does it mean he's just so good? Is he physically more talented than those guys? That then he pushes the hand of Nick Sirianni, and I don't think Brandon Graham would care. Brandon Graham's at the end of his career. If he gets pushed out of his – then let's be honest. What did Brandon Graham play last year? Like 32, 33% of the snaps anyway? He still got 11 sacks. That tells you something about how good Brandon Graham still is at this point. You want the aging veterans to play less snaps anyway. Giants stole another bill, get Cole Beasley. But I don't get the Cole Beasley love, man. He keeps getting opportunity after opportunity. Cole Beasley is well past his prime at this point. And he's a headache. Isn't Cole Beasley like a headache off the field? Very political, very, very distraction-oriented type of player that always causing distractions with different over-the-top hot take opinions in life in general. Like, I don't know. I know last year maybe it was that there are Eagles fans that wanted to bring him in, and I'm just like, no. Sorry, guys. I'm running on minimal sleep today. I'm trying my best to keep the energy going. The coffee is just not helping yet this morning at all. But it is Overreaction Monday. So let's try to come up with some Overreaction Monday type statements for these topics. The overreaction statement, and Eric said it up here, unless the Phillies make it to the World Series, no one will care about the Phillies this year. And I think that's an overreaction statement, but one that there is some potential in, some truth in. Overreaction statement. I think James Harden not at Joel Embiid's wedding is another one of those statements. I bet you James Harden wanted to go to Joel Embiid's wedding, but he didn't go to make a statement to Daryl Morey that I'm willing to cause as much controversy as possible. It just didn't cause one. Overreaction Monday statement. Nolan Smith might have less than 4 sacks in 2023. I don't think it's an overreaction, but that's the best I can come up with at this point. Best slot wide receiver in the game per Bills teammates. Well, I strongly disagree. Who would you take right now? And I'm not saying this because they're both, small white boys, but, they both play the same role, like that small little guy, not overly fast, Hunter Renfrow or Cole Beasley. Even though Hunter Renfrow was banged up all last year, I would take Hunter Renfrow over Cole Beasley any day. I think the Raiders are an interesting. I saw something pop up. It was Jimmy Garoppolo's passed his physical so he could practice in camp with the Raiders. I was high on that Raiders team last year, and it was a complete dumpster fire. They just didn't play well at all last year. But you still got Jimmy Garoppolo taking over for Derek Carr. Was Jimmy Butler at the wedding? I have no idea. I did not see any pictures of him at the wedding. I said, maybe Joel now doesn't want to go to Miami. Maybe there's a rift between buckets and Embiid. Buckets in print and process. Look, I'm really happy for Joel Embiid. He looked super happy in every picture. You saw the video of him dancing the day before the wedding with, I'm guessing, a lot of his new wife's, family. He looked so happy. And all the stress and all the anxiety and all the controversies that surrounded this Sixers season and the way it ended and the way this offseason's going. Just have a weekend with your family and friends celebrating the union of two people, even though they've been together for a while. They have a kid together. It has to be such a great little break from what's going on. So I give him, all the love in the world for that. It's great, that he got married finally and I honestly had no idea why they weren't married yet or whatnot. Diggs tweeted best in game. Well, I don't think Diggs is best either. So, Allen put foot down to get him back last year. Why? Why would you put your foot down to get Cole Beasley back? He's best friends with Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis is overrated too. He had one really good playoff game 2 years ago. And then all of a sudden he's like this stud outside receiver. No, he's not. Buffalo needs wide receivers. They do. Buffalo does not have a strong wide receiver group. They've got Stefon Diggs, and that's it. I don't rush to draft Buffalo Bills wide receivers in the draft at all, or in fantasy drafts at all. No PJ Tucker either. Yeah. There's a lot of guys you didn't see at the wedding pictures. And whatever. It's all good. I mean, I don't stay on Instagram looking to see, these guys and see if they're posting anything either. But PJ Tucker also, he's only been around for a year. Maybe Joel Embiid didn't invite him because he did yell at him during Game 5 or Game 6 or whatever in the air. So maybe he didn't get an invite, PJ Tucker. But it does show, you want your team, how many Eagles have gotten married this offseason? 2, 3? Landon Dickerson, Jordan Mailata. I want to say somebody else did too. I know Boston Scott got engaged. Jalen Hurts is there at every single wedding. A lot of the teammates are there at every single wedding. The coaches are there. Why? Because they're a team. They love each other. There's a camaraderie amongst each other. The Sixers, I just don't feel that. The Phillies, I don't feel that. Sam Hinkie was the priest. Yeah, maybe. That would be funny. That'd be so funny if Sam Hinkie, was the one that was moderating the wedding. That would be a riot. But I just see a difference there. But look, off the wedding topic. I don't want to talk about the wedding too much more. I just wanted to throw it out there. But I do truly feel happy for him that he got it all done with. He's a married man now. He's off the market. And maybe that being a father, being a husband now versus a boyfriend or a partner, whatever you call it nowadays, maybe it changes him a little bit. Maybe. I don't know how or why, but maybe it changes him a little bit. But, let me tell you something. If you don't think James Harden not showing up was another statement to Daryl Morey that you better trade me or I could continue doing things to cause controversy, then I don't know what to tell you, because it is. It's a statement You not going to Joel Embiid's wedding is a statement, a very strong statement. But yeah, no one even seemed to care this weekend. Again, because training camp is here. Because tomorrow, everybody reports the NovaCare complex. First time the team's going to be together since OTAs, since half the team got married. Trust me, when Jalen Hurts gets married someday, but he's got a girlfriend now for a little while, I guarantee you every single one of those Eagles players are going to be there. Every coach is going to be there. Players from his past are going to be there. Everybody's who gets invited is going to show up to Jalen Hurts' wedding. Why? Because of the respect they show for him, the respect this team, the fact that this is a team. They will all be there. Hot take, new NFC East. What's the new NFC East? I don't understand what the AFC East? Like, I don't know what that question or comment is right there, Mitch. You got to explain that a little bit more. I was thinking about comparing the NFC East to the NL East, in football and baseball. And how, Eagles by a lot, Giants, Cowboys, Washington. Yeah, I could see that. I don't know if it'd be by a lot. I mean, the Cowboys, I still think, are a very good team. I do think it could be Eagles, Cowboys, Giants. Washington's going to struggle to win 4 games this year. Without a shadow of a doubt, the Washington Commanders will struggle to win 4 games this year. You got Sam. I don't care if they got Scary Terry. I don't care about Antonio Gibson. I don't care about their 2 or 3 really good defensive players. When you're running out there Sam Howell as your starting quarterback, you're telling everybody, this is a transition year. Like, legit transition year. They don't even know what their name's going to be in the next year or so. Like, Josh Harris is going to make changes to that organization. He's going to change the GM eventually. He'll probably get rid of Riverboat Ron in the next year or so or less. Like, there's going to be a lot of changes on the horizon. And they didn't spend big money in the offseason. They didn't make big contract, decisions in the offseason because of the sale of the team. Going with Sam Howell next year is basically their way of saying, look, we don't know what's going on, so we're just going to roll out there what we can roll out there, and we'll deal with the next offseason. Carson Wentz won't be invited to Jalen Hurts' wedding. But you know what? Jalen Hurts is the type of guy that he probably holds no ill will or grudges to Carson Wentz. He might actually slip an invitation in the mail with Carson Wentz's name on it. Now, Carson might not show up. He might be busy on his hunting trip. But, on Carson Wentz for a second, it's funny. Brian Harmon, dude from Georgia, won the Open Championship, the 151st Open Championship this weekend out in Royal Liverpool out in Scotland, and dominated the golf tournament. A lot of people bet him to win 110, 120 to 1. I only had him top 20, plus 280 as one of my betting picks this week. Had him in a lot of my fantasy lineups this week. But Carson Wentz comes under so much controversy whenever he posts a picture of him hunting. And Brian Harmon, everybody was hating on Brian Harmon this weekend because he's a slow golfer. He's not exciting. He's not polarizing. He's not entertaining. He's slow. He's small. He looks like Murray from Impractical Jokers, like spot on. Yeah. Everybody kept trying to find ways to bust on this guy, and they found on his Instagram somewhere a picture of him hunting, holding up a big buck and stuff. Like, I'm not a hunter. I don't get the hunting thing. To me, it's too slow and boring for me. But, man, people will find anything to crush people, to crush on people for. Like, I just don't get it. Like, Brian Harmon's a hunter. So are, like, a million other people across this country. Carson Wentz is a hunter. You're just going to crush on the guy no matter what he does all the time. Washington, new team is the Corruptions. Well, they're not the Corruptions anymore. They're just the team run by the guy that owns every competing city team. Jordan, $3 billion for the Hornets. They stink. If I was Hurts, I'd invite Carson to have Nick Foles ice statue at his table. Man, show some love for Carson, man. I got no ill will through Carson. I'm already over the Carson debacle, Eric. I truly am. I think Philadelphia fans need to get over the Carson Wentz hate and just move on. We don't win the Super Bowl in 2017 without Carson Wentz. We don't. Nick Foles starting that entire season or more than the last 2 games of the year, we do not win the Super Bowl. Nick Foles played 2 good games against the Vikings in the championship game and against the Patriots in the Super Bowl. Outside of that, Nick Foles is one of the most overrated quarterbacks in Philadelphia Eagles history. There, I said it. He is. He had 1 7-touchdown game during Chip Kelly's rookie coaching year, and he had 2 good playoff games in 2017. Nick Foles is not a good quarterback. He's an okay quarterback. He's a great backup quarterback. Move on from the Carson hate. I'm over Carson. Like, I respect the fact of what he brought to the table and the fact that he was so instrumental in that season. It is training camp time, my man. It is. Hot take, Impractical Jokers is funny. Impractical Jokers is very funny. And he looks exactly like the dude that won the Open Championship. Carson Wentz and Nick Foles came off as very nice guys. They were nice guys. Time heals all wounds. He was as much a part of that team winning as anything. Exactly, Freddie. Freddie, like, my wounds have healed on Ben Simmons. Like, I'm over Ben Simmons to an extent. Now, I'm not asking for Ben Simmons or Carson Wentz to be brought back to the city and given like honors or something like that, or put on a wall of fame or anything. But man, like, Carson Wentz was the MVP of the NFL in 2017 before he got hurt. And if he doesn't get hurt there and plays those last few games, he probably gets the MVP. I really believe that. I mean, dude, the bigger question isn't, are you over it? It's, do we win the Super Bowl if Carson Wentz is still the starter? And that could be a questionable conversation. But my wounds are healed on Carson Wentz. I've washed my hands. I am not afraid. I still have my Carson Wentz gear. I'm not afraid to rock it. Why? Because I'm over it. No, it's been years. This team is firmly entrenched in Jalen Hurts' hands. You saying you support Carson Wentz like his tenure in Philadelphia won't rattle Jalen Hurts one bit. Jalen Hurts is confident in his position already in Eagles history. So it's okay to move on. You kiss mama. Are you talking about my Carson Wentz comments? Come on now. It's okay. It's okay to move on. I move on very easily from things. What's wrong with hunting? I don't know. Look, I'm not a hunter. I would just get bored sitting in a little hunting shack, just waiting, and they have to be quiet. And hunting's not for me. Fishing's not for me. They're too slow and they're too boring. I want sporting events. I want golf. That's my thing. But whenever a guy that's hated in any sport, in any city, if they got a picture of themselves hunting anywhere on social media, someone's going to come out and pull it out. And the people are going to bash them for it. I mean, I don't get it. But it's happened a lot with Carson Wentz. And it happened with Bryce Harper this weekend because people were trying to find. Did anybody see the quote from Bryce Harper after he won? He was doing his press conference after he won the Open Championship. And I know you guys don't know a lot about golf, but Bryce Harper's a very small, petite golfer. Hasn't won on tour since 2017. Has had a very good season. 3 top 10s in the last couple months. And, earned his way on the Ryder Cup. A lot of golf talk there. And I'll talk about this on Fairway to Heaven tonight when we do it as well. But Bryce Harper was asked, about the doubts in his game and the people doubting him. And how did you pull through all the, it's such a tough tournament, tough field, tough conditions and all. Like, what was your motivating factor? And he basically said, walking up a fairway on Saturday, someone says you don't have the balls to complete or to pull this out. And he looked at the fan that said that to him. He's like, okay. And he actually used the fans saying that to him because the fans were firmly against Bryce Harper the entire weekend. The fans there and the fans on social media were completely against him. Man, I didn't want him to win because I had bigger bets on other players. But, I don't have anything against Bryce Harper. But a fan said, you don't got it. You don't got the cojones to complete this gig, to get this title. It's like, all right. And he used that for the rest of Saturday and all day Sunday to pull off the victory at the 151st Open Championship. I like that. Using your doubters to push you forward. I mean, that's what I do. Plenty of people that doubt me on a daily basis. I use that. When Mad Chatter drops some stupid-ass thing, I use that to push forward. I love you, buddy. Man does the NFL offseason blow. Look, the offseason dominates in the NFL. I mean, more people are willing to talk about off-season stuff with the NFL than baseball, than basketball. Women's World Cup is going on right now. I think Game 2 is tonight or tomorrow night for the women. They won their first game. Like, there's a lot going on. You got the Premier League series going on down in Philadelphia this week. Oh, man, Dave was at the game covering the games last night. You know, there's lots going on in sports. Lots going on in the world. Football dominates on a regular basis. Woke up Sunday morning early and golf was on TV. I thought, why, how? And then I saw a fancy clubhouse. I wondered if me, Eric, and Phil had an open bar and buffet, would I enjoy it? Dude, let me tell you something. I enjoyed watching golf on Sunday. I made my plans to go out last night with everybody. So after I knew the last tee times were about 9 a.m., I love a.m. golf like that versus when we had the U.S. Open a few weeks back at L.A. Country Club and it was primetime golf because the final groupings didn't tee off till like 5 or 6 o'clock at night, and it was like 10 o'clock at night when Wyndham Clark was hoisting the U.S. Open championship, trophy. Like, I'd rather the morning golf than the night golf. Like, I don't want primetime golf. I want a.m. golf. I'm not a fan of the Open Championship. I'm not a fan of the conditions. I'm not a fan of link-style golf. But I'm very glad that Brian Harmon was able to use the haters and the doubters and the critics to push forward and get his major championship. And something we're going to talk about on golf tonight and something we'll talk about all week with golf is, my man Len, he's one of the fantasy writers of the year, 3-time fantasy writer of the year, Len Hochbright, good supporter of my golf content and the best in the business in golf content, said, congratulations on your one career win. Like, he basically was hinting that Brian Harmon won't win another major. And I was thinking, best one-hit wonders in golf that won one major and that's it. So that made me think then, what about other teams? Other athletes that only won one championship. Like, is there a quarterback that only won one Super Bowl that you're like, he's the best quarterback to ever win one? Aaron Rodgers. He was a one-hit wonder, basically. Tell Ben he don't got the balls. His production drops in half. And I don't think Ben Simmons could handle that criticism at all. I watched CFL and thought this is how Phil feels about the USFL. Is the CFL even on? I got a lot of Canadian friends. Sometimes Sean might be tuning in and watching this show, man. No. Canadian Football League is not. Is that real football? I don't even know. I don't think it is real football. It is where The Rock got, some extra playing time, before he went to the NFL or before he went to the wrestling world. NFL needs to expand to 18 games, 2 bye weeks. XFL and USFL can walk us through the dead time. I think that's an interesting question. Do you want more football? I mean, with the way football dominates the conversation and the way football dominates headlines, are we going to get to 18 games eventually? I do. Whether you get to 18 games, stay at 17 games or whatnot, the 2 bye week thing is something I really do want. Something I do think they should do to protect these players, to save these players, to help them get over their bumps and bruises. I think there should be 2 bye weeks. Another thing I thought about, man, Chatter, and they would never do this, but to have the bye weeks at the same time, like have just a week off. All teams get the same week off. That way, some teams have their 1 bye week at week 4, and then other teams get like week 12. It's not fair there, right? So have 2 set bye weeks throughout the season where week 6, everybody's off. Week 12, everybody's off. Yeah, I mean, you get 2 weeks in with no football, but, there's other things to fill that time with. You can strategically plan it around NBA games or other things, the holidays, whatever. You can plan it a certain way, but I kind of feel like that's something that could be done. But the 2 bye weeks would definitely help. More football is always better. One of the buys should be universal, off or both. Yeah, I that's something I've been thinking about for a long time, man, Chatter, that all bye weeks should be the same, so that's fair for everybody. Now, that wouldn't help, like, teams get, a bye week, then they got to play on Thursday Night Football, and then other teams don't, so it shortens your bye week, I don't know. But I really think that there's something to that. But on the 18th game, Sure. Only thing I got to say, as you keep adding more games to the schedule, records keep getting broken. So it devalues records of the past and history. I guess I don't really care about records that much. Do I want an 18th game? I don't know. I think if you have an 18th game but no more bye weeks, you probably got to expand the rosters and salary cap even more because you're going to have more, and one more game is open up the door for more injuries and stuff like that. And, you're going to have to rest your quarterback. You talk about load management in the NBA with players. You might want to or have to load manage a quarterback throughout the season, on an 18th game. It doesn't sound like much one more game, but what they put their bodies through is a lot. If they batch Monday Night Football and I have to miss the Eagles in order to watch my Bills, I would be ticked. Look, I don't know. I think that the 2 bye weeks is something that's smart that the NFL, I think at some point in the next 5, 7 years, maybe 3 years, 2 years even, that the second bye week will come into play, with or without an 18th game. But I do think they pushed for the 18th game before they pushed for the extra bye week for sure. I really do. Because more football. It lengthens the season in our week. If you get an 18th game and a second bye week, now you're talking 2 more weeks of football. Now you're talking the Super Bowl is until the end of February. The season still starts at the same time. You're stretching it all out even longer. More is better. Records are dumb because the 90s teams would get crushed by modern teams. Talent pool is bigger, scouting so much more vigorous. Yeah, but there are also different rules. They played harder back then. Some of those players back then, they were doing, I was watching something. What was I watching the other day? And they're talking about what practices used to be like for the Eagles back in the 90s. During Buddy Ryan, you'd do 2-a-days. You'd put the pads on at 9 a.m. You'd go for 2 hours. You'd take a lunch break, and then you'd go back out there at 2 o'clock in the scalding heat and do another 2 hours of full-on hitting every single day for weeks on end in training camp. Those guys got beat up and run down. And some of those guys' careers might have been longer if they weren't doing that. So, to say the 90s players would get crushed by today's, teams, maybe, but I think there's a lot more that goes into it than that. Watch for Tuesday or Wednesday football, even though I want Friday and Saturday. Dude, already. You've heard me say it on this show before. I want Friday night light football. I know they won't do it, but I would love it. And I want Saturday night football games too. I want primetime weekend games. I hate Tuesday football games, the rare chance it happens. I hate Thursday night football, especially when the Eagles are on it. I'm not even a fan of Monday night football anymore. I think 4 o'clock games on Sunday should be the end of it. I don't want Sunday night football. I don't want Monday night football. Move those to Friday and Saturday night. We'll never compete against the college. Actually, somebody said it's against the law. Like there's some unwritten rule, or there might be a written rule that they can't compete. I don't know. Every team gets 2 bye weeks, one early in the season, one late in the season. If that extended season by a week to President's Day weekend, most people are off Monday. That's a fantastic point right there. You make the Super Bowl President's Weekend because everybody's off, but not everybody's off, Kyle. Small business owners like me still got to open up on Monday. You know what I mean? So don't help me. But that's beside the point. The majority of the people and students and kids and schools are closed. It's a good idea. It is. It's a really good idea. College doesn't need to go away. You won't hear me talking college football on this show much. This is new to this network this year. I don't cover college football very often. Very, very rarely do I cover college football on the show. I don't. Yeah, Mad Chatter likes your idea, Kyle. Make sure we're liking. We got 9 likes on Facebook or YouTube, 3 on Facebook. Make sure we're hitting the like button, guys. There's 14, 15 people watching right now. So make sure you smash that. Would love to see Randall Cunningham with modern science and coaching. Exactly. So you think about Randall, and it's a prime example. We talked about it 2 weeks ago on the What If show. What if Bryce doesn't pop Randall's knee week 1 Green Bay 1991? Well, nowadays, most defensive linemen don't go for the knees and ankles of quarterbacks because of the rules that have been put in place, because the modern game has changed. Randall Cunningham in the modern era might have stayed healthy throughout his career because he wouldn't have been hit the way he was hit. His wide receivers would have gotten open better because you can't hand check wide receivers like you could back then. You couldn't pull and grab. Like, no offense, it was a foul, and I'm not living in the past, but the James Bradbury passing interference penalty probably gets slid by in 1992. Just saying. I am not a big business owner. I'm a small business owner. I think Phil's job is a magical land of pizza, Ninja Turtles, and soda pop, and what the heck is that? It's a little early for a wake and bake. It's a Monday morning. I thought you said your boss was a little upset at you. Maybe he's upset at you for waking and baking. Anyway. We are, 10 minutes left in this show today? So we're going to, look, guys, my energy level's been a little timid. I don't know how a guy could be as tired as I was last night. And, boy, let me tell you, I was tired last night. Long weekend. And, dude, I just laid in bed for 8 hours. I fell asleep at 3:30, 4 o'clock this morning. Just laid there, tossing and turning. Not sure how I'm going to get through this day. And I got another show to do tonight because I got Fairway to Heaven tonight. I'm actually thinking of not doing it tonight, but we'll see. I always say I'm not going to do a show, and then I do it anyway. But anyway, let's get to the wrap up to an extent for the last 7 or 8 minutes. That's how you picture my job? Well, you have no idea. It's going to be one hot hell week at the pizza shop this week. It's going to be in the mid-90s. Feel like temperatures over 100. It is going to be hot at the shop. The biggest heat wave of the summer is hitting us here in Philadelphia this week. But the wrap up, we got 6-7 minutes here. We're going to bring the the topics back to the table again. Nolan Smith, where does he fit in with this Eagles roster? Do you care or do you not care like me that James Harden was not at Joel Embiid's wedding? And, of course, what can the Phillies do to overtake Eagles training camp talk? And again, like I said, I was told in a comment on Twitter, look, it's just practice. Who cares? Let's focus on the Phillies. Well, 90% of Philadelphia doesn't think that way. I got it all, my man. All of it. Full menu. I really didn't even get into the Craig Kimbrell conversation. He blew a save yesterday. No $500 super chat. No one will ever drop a $500 super chat. I don't even want to go to work today. It's already hot and humid out here, and today's going to be the coolest day of the week. Every series is a big series, Kyle. Every series is a big series for the Phillies. But yet I think the inconsistencies of this team that are mirroring last year, and there's just no – I do think I said it before today that the Sixers breaking our trust or disappointing us again is causing Philly fans not to want to get behind this team fully. If anything, this Phillies team's better than last year's Phillies team. They're ahead of their pace from last year. But yet, the inconsistencies, the lack of there hasn't been that moment or that player that's really, Bryce Harper's a guy that everybody gravitates to. But Bryce Harper, he's been okay this year. He just had, nothing's really drawn us in. They've done just enough to keep themselves in it, but just enough to keep us emotionally attached to this team. What can you see if you sent super chats? I always wondered. You see name. I just see your name, your screen name, and then whatever. When I did it yesterday, or when I got 3 of them last Friday, you guys put comments under them. That's all I see. Your profile, your login name, or your username, and whatever comment you add to it. That's all I see. I don't know anything else. I don't think the Phillies have done anything to draw us fans in. I'm the biggest. I'm wearing my National League Championship shirt right now. Look, I love my Phillies, but I didn't watch more than 6 innings this entire weekend. I was home Saturday night. The game was on. I was flipping the channels. I turned on AEW Collision instead. They just don't do it. They don't do it for me. There's something missing. I don't know. Maybe they need to do a bench clearing brawl to fire the fans up. Maybe they need a 10-game winning streak or something. What was it last year? The 15-game winning streak after Joe Girardi was fired in June. Maybe they need something like that, the Phillies. I don't know. Bryce Harper made diving gold glove type plays at first base this weekend. Yet, whatever. I don't know. I thought I'd start some controversy by saying Craig Kimbrell blowing the save yesterday was a good thing for this team. and it got like 4 or 5 clicks and comments. Like, no one seems to get excited. But I say Kelly Green is overrated, and today's probably the Kelly Green jersey drop. I don't know. I don't know. All his items are great. If you're ever, oh, thanks, Adam. I appreciate him. Adam's my man. He's always a regular at my shop. I don't know. I don't know where it goes from there with the Phillies. I really don't. Like, the World Series might have to happen. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if round 1 of the playoffs, attendance, it'll be sold out, but I bet you the overall number will be lower than last year. Last year was the first time in the playoffs in, what was it, like 11, 12 years. This year, it's not the same. They have done everything they can, the Phillies, to scare off the new fans they made. They did. They have. And unless a big, bold change is made, a shocking trade, and not a trade for, like I see everybody talking about Cody Bellinger. Yeah, he might help this team a little bit. But that's not going to be a shock value trade. Like, I don't know if there's a thing that this team can do. Training camp starts tomorrow. I'm going to start off. I'll tease tomorrow. I'm going to say, what do we want and what do we think Nick Sirianni's message to this team needs to be tomorrow on the first day? Is it a flower reference? Is it what? That's what we're going to start tomorrow with. What Sirianni's message should be. Will Jalen Hurts speak to the team tomorrow? I wouldn't be surprised if Jalen Hurts, Nick Sirianni welcomes everybody to camp. He gives his first motivational speech, and he says, all right, guys. And Jalen Hurts jumps up on stage and talks. Wouldn't be surprised. That's going to be what we go for tomorrow. Look, it's training camp. There's going to be a lot of Eagles talk this week. I don't have a lot of topics or pre-planned ideas this week. I don't even have notes for this week. Like, I got nothing here. I am not prepped for this week's shows. Let me tell you something. The Phillies could have spent the last 4 weeks developing some connection with their fan base. So that right now, we're talking about, I get the Facebook memories because I share this show out on Facebook every single day. And every single day for the last month last year, Phillies were part of the conversation every day. Now, I don't even mention who the pitching matchups are half the time. I don't even look at, like, I have the box score up here from yesterday. I haven't even looked at it once during the show. Harness that pain. Well, that's going to be something we talk about tomorrow. What do you do? How do you get these guys ready this year? Like, yeah, you got to have practice. You got to run drills, whatnot. But you got to have a theme, a motivational tactic. And I think that's something that we got to discuss tomorrow. What is he going to use? What is he going to tap into? What is he going to harness to get the veterans ready again? To get the rookies ready again? Like, I think this is going to be a more important season for Nick Sirianni than Jalen Hurts, I think there's more doubt in Eagles fans on Nick Sirianni than Jalen Hurts at this point. So I think we're going to talk a lot of Nick Sirianni tomorrow. What makes him a good coach? What weaknesses he has? Oh man, you're talking right up my alley, Marshawn. You're getting in with a conversation like this with one and a half minutes left in the show. You can't drop something like that. You can't drop something that excites me like that at hour and 14 minutes into an hour and 15-minute show. It's kind of funny. It used to be an hour show. Now it's an hour and 15 all the time. Always. So I love that. But anyway, we're going to wrap up Trend in the AM right there. Tomorrow, what is Nick Sirianni's message going to be on day one of training camp? That is it. Legacy year for those guys? I'll bring that up tomorrow. I don't know. Or this week. I think Kelsey's legacy and Lane Johnson's legacy is solidified. Brandon Graham solidified. Fletcher Cox, to an extent, too. All those guys have won Super Bowls already. They've already played in multiple Super Bowls already. All four of them are probably Hall of Famers at some point. Maybe. Eventually. Thank you, Adam. Appreciate that. I don't know. I'm gonna write that down. I got to think about that more. Legacy Eagles, because we talked legacies with the Sixers all year. Yeah, almost. 2 rings are better than 1, obviously. Obviously. But I think their play on the field and their leadership and everything else that they've done, yeah, it's kind of funny looking actually seeing that on there. It is. I don't know. To me, legacy, because we spent so much time talking about Daryl Morey's legacy and Doc Rivers' legacy and Joel Embiid's legacy and James Harden's legacy, and I thought of it differently. So I know Doc Rivers had the 1 title in Boston, so maybe I was overrating his legacy, but I don't know. The legacy thing, we'll bring it up tomorrow, Marshawn. Don't be so late to the conversation. Wait until the show. We're already into overtime. Now we're 35 seconds into overtime because you're bringing in the good conversation points at the end of the show. This is why this could be a 2-hour show, because an hour and 15 minutes in, more great topics get brought up, and we could continue this conversation. But unfortunately, I have to work because $500 super chats aren't dropped every day. How scary are the Jets? Not at all. I cannot wait to crash and burn. I'm going to be so wrong. I think I might be my Raiders prediction wrong on the Jets, but I hope I'm not. If I can ever get one prediction right, the Jets winning 6 or less games this year is the prediction I want to get right so badly. I want raise, Phil. I show up to work, Phil. Yeah, look. Yeah. No, you're not getting a raise. Not at all. But anyway, we're going to wrap it up right there, guys. That's it for today. 10 likes on YouTube, 3 on Facebook. Not good enough, guys. Got to share, like, subscribe, do all that great stuff. Number 1 morning show in the Philadelphia area where your opinions actually matter. Right here, trending in the AM. More likes, please. More shares, more people. I mean, Friday's show, over 220 views, 25 likes. Come on, guys. We got to do that. Raiders might be terrible this year, but I predicted a Super Bowl appearance for them last year. Boy, was I wrong on that one. But anyway, we'll wrap that up right there. We'll dive in some fantasy football conversation this week maybe as well, as fantasy drafts start to come around the corner here so soon. That's right. It was we don't even have 100 comments yet on this show. You're only comment number 95 for the show today, man. Chatter right there. Everybody have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Trending in the AM on Philadelphia Sports Network. I'm Phil Stiefel. We'll talk to you tomorrow, guys.